Productivity is the measure of how much work we can get done in a certain amount of time. In today's day and age, everybody is chasing this mythical standard of productivity where you supposedly can get an entire day's work done in just a few hours. Is that even possible? Or better yet, is it even worth it? There are countless books and even more unique thought processes about how to maximize productivity. But here's the thing. In order to learn how to maximize our time, we need to first spend our time learning. Spend time to make time. This is a concept that is difficult for some to grasp. After all, time is such a finite resource. Each and every one of us only has so much time on this planet, and then we're gone. Even worse, that time could be ripped away from us suddenly, without warning. None of us know if we have 30 years, 30 days, or even 30 seconds left to accomplish all of the things we want to do before we go, and that's more than a little scary. So, where does that leave us? For many, in a constant state of rushing, doing our best to consume as much knowledge and get as much done as we can before we go. There is something to be said about making the most of it. But how much can you really learn in this way? How much information can you retain if it's constantly being pushed out by newer information before our brains have time to soak it up and fully understand it? The answer, as it turns out, is not very much. You could spend your years ripping through all kinds of books, listening to podcasts, and cramming information into your head, but would any of it be usable? Could you really recall what you learned from a YouTube video you played at 2 times speed? You might be able to tell yourself you could, but when it comes down to it, most people can't unless they are incredibly gifted. And that's fine. It's okay to not know everything, or be as productive as the next person. We're all human. And what makes the human race so fascinating are its strengths as well as its weaknesses, and how those vary from person to person. So, instead of approaching the pursuit of knowledge and productivity from the influencer's perspective, where there is an impractical goal that needs to be met in the least amount of time, what if you slowed down? What if you took time to think, listen, and fully understand the information in front of you? Even if you are doing your best to take in the right information, it can't be helpful if you don't retain and implement what you thought you learned. Consider this. If something was important enough to write about so millions of people could read about it, isn't it worth trying? Even if it's just once? There's a reason we had to conduct so many experiments in science class and complete countless school projects. Learning by doing is a very real thing, but it kind of gets lost as we get older and take on more responsibilities. We think we don't have time to learn, and that can be hugely detrimental for us. It can hamper our ability to expand our minds, which can in turn make us ignorant. Nobody wants that. Think about the last conversation you had with somebody. Anybody. Whether it was a friend, family, or a total stranger, how closely did you actually follow their words? Were you listening to understand, or were you listening to hear? Were you even listening at all? Sometimes, we either don't listen or stop listening in conversations when the other person's opinions, state of mind, or worldview don't match up with our own. It's a natural reaction and possibly even a defense mechanism that protects our way of thinking as the right one. This has led large parts of the world to fight among themselves, battling it out to push their own thoughts and ideologies as the right ones. But what if things were different? What if, instead of listening to hear or not listening at all, we listen to understand, to take the time to fully grasp what is being said? What if you fed your curiosity and thirst for knowledge by asking questions to better understand those words? Yes, it would take more time. But how much better off would you be for spending that time actually learning from someone else, rather than speed reading books or listening to sped-up podcasts? And how more would you learn from those books and podcasts by taking them in at, a normal pace? These are the things you should try today. Slow down, listen to understand, and spend time to make time. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. every day, read 30 books per week, or chug a bunch of raw eggs to increase your brain function. Instead, go for a walk. Strike up a conversation and actually listen to understand who you're talking to. Sit down to read with the intention of enjoying the book and comprehending what it contains, rather than getting through it so you can move on to the next one. Nobody knows everything. That's impossible. But the pursuit of knowledge is part of what drives the human spirit, and so many people are going about it the completely wrong way. Try these things. Admit you don't know everything, and you might be surprised by what you can learn about the world around you. There are so many pathways, areas of interest, and adventures just waiting to be discovered, and you've probably been zooming past them most of your life.